Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another weekly episode of Wrestle Rewind. Today is September the 19th, 2019, and today in wrestling history, we have two birthdays to celebrate today. Arn Anderson was born on this day, as well as Greg Valentine, so two WWE Hall of Famers that were both born on today, so happy birthday to both of those guys. I don't have, the more somber news that I usually announce on our show for this day in wrestling history, but
yeah, at least you talked about the entrance instead of the exit this time.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I figured I'd kick this one off on a happier note than I did for the last one. Nobody died. So, well, no, there's a lot that died, but I just didn't. I didn't write any of the names down. But not that they're not important. But that's all I have for today in wrestling history. We're going to kick tonight's show off with a review of WWE's Clash of Champions that took place this past Sunday.
Is that what you have written down?
That is what I have written down.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's no, sir. No, sir. No, sir.
That doesn't say Clash of Champions.
That's exactly what it says. It is the acronym for Clash.
I was like, what are we reviewing? This must not be for me. Oh, card attached.
C-O-C. Capital C-O-C.
Right. So
Yeah.
It's an interesting review.
A man not included.
We are not even. We're not even like 2 minutes into the broadcast, and this has already gone downhill.
2 minutes.
Already gone downhill.
Yeah, quick.
So, not that that's any different from any other night that we have. No. It just usually sometimes takes us more than 2 minutes to get there.
Right.
So,
it literally all it takes is a second.
Well, I mean, it's the first thing on the page.
Right.
It's an acronym. It's an acronym.
That's fine, bro.
Hey, man, what's it
Shouldn't there be dots in between?
So let's move on to the card.
So what's it say? She goes.
It's yeah. So the card for Clash of Champions. We had talked last week about there being a lot of matches that were being squeezed into a very tight time frame. So we still had a fairly decent show that I think WWE put on for Clash of Champions. Anybody surprised by anything that occurred on the card?
Not really surprised. I was just kind of going over it again. I mean, nothing that happened that night really caught me off guard.
I was a little surprised AJ and Cedric were on the pre-show.
Yeah, that was really the only shocking thing to me.
But not a major surprise.
I was going to say, but that's not one of those things that's going to blow you away.
No, but it's just...
All right, so who would you have put on the pre-show instead of them?
The Miz and Shinsuke.
No, I think I would have put Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross, Mandy Rose, and Sonya Deville on the pre-show.
Especially since they were doing a title change.
Yeah. It would have been one of them.
Yeah.
For sure. You know what, I'm lying. I think the one thing that did surprise me was the Miz did not take the title off Nakamura.
Yeah.
I thought that might happen.
Yeah, me too.
That's due to your favorite wrestler.
I don't even want to talk about it.
So apparently, as I was reading today, there is a chance that we had talked last week about Nakamura probably heading back towards NXT.
Which is why I thought he was going to win the IC title.
It sounds like Nakamura will not be heading to NXT. What it sounds like is The Miz is going to be headed to NXT.
Really?
Huh.
He was a coach, wasn't he, at one
point?
He
was Daniel Bryan's mentor. Yeah.
So he actually posted something about that yesterday.
Who did?
The Miz on his Instagram.
Oh, he did?
He posted something about it.
So I think that part of that, which I think would be super exciting, because that would give us a fresh card for The Miz to wrestle against people he has not wrestled with before.
And it just continues to leave Nakamura, though, in obscurity against people we've never seen him in obscurity with before.
It depends on what they do with this.
Did you see the Starrcade poster?
I did not.
Have you seen it? Every title they have on the main roster was on there except for the IC title.
Really?
Yeah. They even squeezed AJ in it with the U.S. title right in the middle.
Nice.
Nakamura and the IC belt are not on the poster. Or at least maybe they're going to do another one. I don't know. But on the one that I saw, it was either today or yesterday. It's not even there.
So, I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see what
Through the year.
A man's talking about the poster as she's searching for it. Just to clarify for anybody that's asking, since all she said into the microphone was "do the year." So
I'm going to see if I can find it on here. So continue.
So one of the things that I think was interesting about this show was I was not expecting AJ to retain,
Fair.
but he did. I was not expecting.
Right there.
Oh, all right.
What did we find it? And then
So there you go. He pulled it. He pulled it back up for us.
yeah, there you
They're
go.
like right there. Why is Romy?
You see what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
they found a way to squeeze AJ right in the middle, but you couldn't find for your supposed second biggest title once you get past WWE and Universal.
Yeah. That's valid.
I don't know. That just I
Does
saw
that
it and it
only-
just kind
does
of
that
jumped
only-
right out at me that he
Yeah.
wasn't there,
Yeah.
Does that only count when it's the Miz that's holding it? Apparently,
or anybody but Nakamura.
right.
At this point, that's
I
what it
feel like
looks
the
like.
Miz is really the only other person that holds it.
Well, I feel like
In recent memory, he's
Yeah.
the most relevant. For
I
sure.
really do feel like we're in a holding pattern with everything in WWE right now, where they're not sure what post SmackDown going to Fox
Sure.
looks like. So I don't think we really have a good idea of what they're going to use people for, or who's going to be the major players until after we get through this upcoming draft and find out who's going to be where. Because truthfully, we don't. AJ may end up back on SmackDown.
Yeah.
For all we know. One of the things that I thought was huge coming out of this past week, which we'll get to a little bit later on, but Brock Lesnar.
I did see that.
You know,
Yeah.
that's going to be a
That
big
was a
deal.
big shock to me.
But as we continue to talk about Clash of Champions, I was surprised by Bayley retaining over Charlotte.
I called that one.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised that she won. I was surprised in how she did it and the length of the match.
Was it 3:45? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something crazy, yeah. Which I was happy. If they're going forward with this heel character, she needs to cheat to win. She needs to be a heel.
Right.
And
Well,
what she did was clever. Like, it makes sense.
that's like what we were
easy.
saying, though. I think by her winning, by Kofi beating Randy, I feel like what WWE did that night was validate those two title runs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like if they both
You talked about that the night of, actually.
Yeah, I felt like if they both coughed them up that night, then Kofi was just a placeholder. You know, it was a charity run,
Right.
basically. And same thing with Bayley. It would have been a charity holding, you know, just, yeah. It would have been all charity just to say, hey, look, we put one on them.
Right.
Shut up.
Right.
But the fact that they beat, you know, her taking out Charlotte and him beating one of the greatest of all time in Randy Orton was huge.
Yeah. I mean, and the fact that he beat Randy clean,
Right.
Right.
too.
Right.
It wasn't a cheating victory like Bailey.
No, but
you
even
get
with
two
Bayley's,
different
it's
heel
right.
face
Yeah.
kind of direction.
It was a
I wasn't knocking Bailey. I'm just saying.
It was a validation for her character.
Right.
And we saw the same with Kofi. You know, I have another question here. Like, what's next for Randy?
I'm sure Randy doesn't
I think
care.
he floats around with the revival for a while. Just
Yeah.
does whatever.
I think he's content now.
Yeah, at this point, he
He
really
is.
doesn't
He-
care.
He's already publicly said that this is his last contract.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to do anything right now. And then...
Or ever again.
right.
Really.
Which is why I
And
mean,
then
Yeah,
he
his
could be thrown
legacy
into
is
any-
written.
Yeah. He could be thrown into any situation at
No-
any time.
no
and be
pun
fine,
intended.
and make it believable.
When is
For the
his
most
con?
part.
Any idea when the contract
He's got like
is up?
another year and a half, 2 years left
Okay.
on it. So
Right.
he's got time. Speaking of contracts, WWE not offering anything less than 5 years right now to any of their talent. Including NXT stars, which have seen a significant pay raise since their announcement of moving to USA Live every week.
Which they deserve
If you're going to be
gonna
expecting
do
them
this,
to
yeah.
Sure.
perform
Yeah.
every single
If
week
they
live
get
on
a deal,
television.
They should
Yeah.
get a cut from it.
So, what was your favorite match of the night? I mean, not everybody speak at once.
We don't
Trying to
normally
think.
have this
It's
problem.
been a lot of
So,
wrestling.
Yeah, there's been a whole lot lately.
yeah,
I think I'm going to go with Sasha and Becky.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Shocker.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
she
I-
is wearing the man's
Oh, yeah. yeah.
shirt.
She is wearing the man's
Yeah.
shirt.
That's right.
Show Jason.
That's
Here, show. Let him see it.
Okay, let's just continue. Let's just...
So
I mean, it's just says the man. It's not very extensive shirt. So
no, it's not even close to her package. So
Jesus.
My favorite match of the night was probably, I would have to say, the Kofi Kingston Randy Orton match.
Yeah,
It's kind of where I was at, but even there were parts of that match for me. Even though I'm going to say that was probably my favorite too. There were parts of that just kind of drug on. There were a couple parts where it just felt like
There were moments that seemed like a time filler.
Yeah, where I was like, all right, let's go. Let's get to the point.
I mean, in my opinion, it was a good pay-per-view, but I just think it was kind of lackluster. The whole.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
I thought it was a good pay-per-view.
It was, but it was just...
Overall, they
super
found...
exciting.
They found a good way to fit all 11 matches in on the card. And they did it in a manner that was better for the viewer than we've seen in recent pay-per-views.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of things that we saw that I think they did really well, but you could definitely tell there were some moments, like with the Kofi-Randy match, where you could tell they were using it as filler. Like they were just trying to draw it out a little bit longer than what we were getting.
Yeah.
So,
because, I mean, think about it. Most of these matches didn't even hit double digits.
So, no, most of them did not. And, it's not a matter anymore of whether or not WWE can put on a quality show. Clearly they can, but it's up to the superstars to really deliver that event.
Right.
It is.
So, I think the Randy Kofi match was my favorite. I think my least favorite match of the night was, and I can't even believe I'm going to say it, is AJ Styles Cedric Alexander.
I feel like that match had the most potential of the night.
But they flopped it. I mean,
yeah, it wasn't great.
What we got versus the potential it had was not even close.
And the fact that AJ beat Cedric clean at the pay-per-view and then beat him clean again on Monday and then beat him up after the match, it's like, what are you doing with Cedric?
So there was a report.
AJ's strong, but
there was a report that came out that said that Paul Heyman is very high on Cedric Alexander.
Mm-hmm.
Vince is not.
But Vince is not. And so Cedric's burial, essentially, has taken place because Vince does not see him as a money-driving
now,
factor.
all of a sudden, like how long have they been building and including
Well,
Cedric
that could have been Vince and Paul agreeing to disagree. Let's see what happens, and then Vince finally saying nope,
pulling the trump card and saying, it's over.
Yeah, it was a good run. You gave it a shot. It's not working.
Right.
Actually, you know what?
It would work if you would let him win.
Or just don't bury him.
Right.
Completely. I like Cedric Alexander. I think he's a great performer.
Well, and we don't
He's
know
super talented.
Again what the politics are backstage. Nope. We don't know what that looks like. We don't know if he's one of those guys. I mean, think about how much they built and built and built and built Braun Strowman just to do nothing with him. But 6 months later, we find out that he had punctuality problems, that he had a temperament and attitude problem backstage. So you never know what's going on behind the scenes that leads WWE to driving some of these actions that they have. So, I mean, it just depends. But I think that was the most lackluster match of the night for me. I didn't see a lot of value in it.
Well, and that may have been what the point was.
Yeah, and maybe.
Honestly.
I was really excited to see, truthfully, Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode come away with the tag team titles. It's nice to see. It's nice to see them do something with those two. Bobby Roode or Robert Roode, arguably one of the most talented individuals on the roster, has clearly he's missing something for WWE to fold him into the main role.
Talking about Bobby Roode?
Yeah.
Or Robert Roode?
Yeah.
He's missing beer money.
So, well,
I was literally getting ready to say that.
so
He's missing his personality. Like, all
Yeah.
he's had is glorious. Like, everything he says, every promo is glorious. Like,
and even
like let him
But he-
talk.
he-
let him do something.
but he
else.
literally has the best entrance music.
No, it's fine. But, like, let him do something other. Like, not everything has to be revolving around the word glorious.
but
Like, just do something else.
they gave him
Like,
a gimmick change or update to the exact same gimmick. Like
Yeah,
it
I'm
wasn't
not
a
even
change or an
saying,
update at all.
Still do the entrance. That's
Right.
fine. But, like, just not every promo. Not everything has to be centered around that word. That's my thing.
So, one of the things that I think that we have to figure out with Bobby Roode is he did really well in NXT as a heel.
Mm-hmm.
He did really well in TNA as a heel.
Because he was a heel the whole time up until Beer Money.
Yep. And so
that's when he
then
turned
you
into
bring
a
him
face.
to the main roster, and they tried to make him a heel at first, and it was working.
Mm-hmm.
But then the moment you tried to turn him face, it's not catching on the way that people want it to. Now, pairing him with Ziggler might give him some validity, and we might see some more embracing of his character at that point. But one, I think it's a mistake that you change him. I'm so over WWE changing people's names. Like, the fans don't put that much value in somebody's name for you to be worried about whether it's Eric Rowan or Rowan.
Right.
Or whether it's Bobby Roode or Robert Roode. We don't care enough for that to be a factor. I'm just over.
Whatever your name is,
It's what your name
what it
is.
That's the way it's gonna
So,
be.
it's different if your name is directly tied to your character. But, Shorty G for Chad Gable.
That's the worst I've heard in quite some time.
Well, and now we're soon to see, I'm hearing Shorty B for Shelton Benjamin. He's being rebranded.
What?
Why?
That's awful. He's always been Shelton Benjamin.
So,
Why are you going to change it now?
well, because they're, I guess, planning on pairing Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin together to recreate the American Alpha
Yeah.
tag
The
team.
greatest tag team.
Yeah, but then do that. Then do that.
But leave the names.
But leave the names alone.
Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin.
I mean, that's
Maybe
going to be
like
like
Shelton
us
Benjamin and
changing
Chad-
this thing and saying introducing Shorty Z.
It's going to be Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas 2.0.
Yeah. And you know what? That would probably work.
Well, yeah, because
To
Chad
some
Gable's got the
extent.
same build.
He's he's shorter than Charlie Haas, but I mean, I think he may be more talented.
Remarkably talented.
Yeah.
But
And-
no one cares. Like, no one cares how tall he is. Like,
No.
Right.
Rey Mysterio is shorter than him, and no one ever draws any attention to his height unless he's fighting like the Big Show or something.
We
like
weren't calling him
that. We
Shorty
don't care.
M.
We don't care. So, whatever. They just need Chad Gable could be a top babyface for them if they use this momentum that he has and just go forward with him.
Yeah.
He could. Like, he could use this next year, go win Money in the Bank, and then use that and just propel from there forward and be the next Daniel Bryan type of character.
Yeah, I mean,
If you build him up properly.
there's so much potential in what they could do with Chad Gable, with his character, his ability in the ring, and what he does as a performer, that I think we're getting way too tied up in names for WWE to be worried about that. Like, again, I don't, as a wrestling fan, and folks that are listening or watching the show, like, by all means, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think any of us really care what name you put on a wrestler. Like, you're spending time investing in, I mean, because you're talking merchandise. I mean, that's just, why are we wasting time on that instead of providing great matches with talented performers, and we're more concerned about what we're going to call them when they come to the ring?
Right.
So, for me, like, this is how I equate this. So people say that kayfabe is dead. Well, that's great. But John Moxley is Dean Ambrose. You can change his name when he goes to AEW all he wants, but
That's still
you're Dean Ambrose. So, yeah, you were John Moxley before that, but that's not what you made your name doing. You made your name as Dean Ambrose. Chris Jericho's lucky that his name is his name, so he's been allowed to carry it with him everywhere he goes. But, I mean, same thing with Kurt Angle. It's one of those things where we call these guys by a name, but so think about the fact that
Booker T.
the only time, well, and I'm getting ready to correct myself now because we say a name doesn't matter, but a name does matter if it's reflective of the character. So where that does matter is stunning Steve Austin is not Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Right.
Well,
That
I
was
have
a
reason to
different
change the
right.
name.
That was a different
like
character.
The Viking Raiders, the Viking.
You had no reason to do
Experience,
that.
it-
Why
there's
would
no
you-
That
reason.
made
That's why
zero
we get
difference.
frustrated because there's no reason to change.
Right, there was
it.
three different
Or-
names that you gave them across 3 different weeks
Right.
before you finally stuck with one.
Right.
Well,
That's
right,
when
but
we
they
care.
didn't change the gimmick at all.
No,
it was the
they're gonna be
exact
the one
same
with-
thing
Bases,
with
Viking.
3 different names.
Right, and that's what I'm talking about here is that it is clearly way too much time that they spend focusing on what people call these wrestlers than just allowing the fans to take them for who they are and move on.
Right. Agreed.
So, I mean, I think that it's going to be interesting to see where this goes over long term. Magically, because when people go from NXT to the main roster, they become different people. So, because we as wrestling fans don't understand what that's about. But, if you're going to call us an idiot, just call us an idiot and don't try to sneak it around us. That's my only thing.
That's fair. That's a fair request.
As if we're unintelligent enough that we don't see what you're trying to do.
Well, right. And 10, 15, 20 years ago, they could have done that, and nobody would have had a clue. But I think we've said it before. Now is a more educated wrestling crowd as to what's going on.
Yeah.
Not educated in, what grade did you
Right.
make it through? Like, educated into what's going on. Everybody, there's social media. I mean, it's in your face all the time. So it's hard kind of not to know.
I mean, it is. Overall thoughts on Clash of the Champions, 5-star rating, what do you give it, Smokey?
Probably about 3.5.
Okay. Amen?
3.
Double K.
I'll go 3. Give that name about 6 inches, though.
We're going to move on in this conversation.
Isn't the average 8?
5.
5?
5.
Well, all the letters aren't there, so.
So it's already below average.
Right.
5.4.
Cheers to that.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah. No, he's not listening to this show.
No, he's not.
He said he was taking this week off.
So let's move on to our next WWE topic of the evening. NXT made their debut last night on the USA Network. And several different things for those of you that watched it happened. We learned that NXT on Wednesday nights is going to have a variety of different brands represented on that show. Mm-hmm. Triple H announced that to the crowd after the show went off the air. That you're going to see stars, which we saw last night from 205 Live, as well as NXT UK. So all 3 brands will be represented on the NXT Wednesday night programming. So with that, I would imagine that the 205 Live programming, as it comes to an end, all of those superstars will now transition to NXT.
Which, talk about perfect timing for them to be getting to that ending point.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure they wouldn't have gotten rid of the majority of them anyway, but now it's just a given. The majority of them can go to NXT and actually have something valid and solid to do each week. Whether it's being on TV each week or going down to the Performance Center, actually doing something, though. And
Yeah.
not having that fear of 205s being, because they, without being on USA for 2 hours every week, maybe they wouldn't have needed as many people that they were probably going to keep.
Well, and that's
So-
probably true. And one of the things that I want to talk about here is the statement that Kenny Omega made today, actually,
Ooh, thank you.
which, in my mind, didn't do Kenny Omega any favors.
This is the one.
And what Kenny Omega said was that the difference between AEW on Wednesday nights and NXT was NXT has developmental talent while AEW has real stars.
Hearing what he said made me about your friends and calling them developmental talent. But if they beat you in the ratings, what is your response going to be?
Yeah.
You're getting beat by developmental talent. Then whether you think that or not, that's fine. You don't say that, especially being an EVP. Like you don't say certain things. And he should have learned that from the statement that he made with that tweet that he sent out a few months ago.
That he had to delete.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
So, again, if that's how he feels, cool. Everyone has their own opinion. You don't need to say stuff like this. The commercial they aired during NXT, brilliant. Smart business move. the comments he made completely unnecessary, and it makes him look horrible.
Well, and what's going to make them look even worse is if they come out and they slip at all.
Yeah.
If they slip at all,
Their main event.
You
You're
know,
the main event. That's unacceptable. At this point, with the statements that he made, you have no way out now.
you've backed AEW as a company into a corner.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I mean, if you come out and you're half stepping at all, you're going to get squashed quick.
I love the comment here from one of our viewers that says his question was to Kenny Omega, and it says, "Has he seen half the AEW roster?"
Right.
Developmental talent.
Thank you. That's my second point.
I was about to say the last couple shows.
Oh, so
they've
you
had
were about
looks
to
like
make the
developmental
same
talent.
point as that viewer?
Yeah.
There you go. Makes
Oh.
sense.
Oh,
Makes sense.
well,
How about that?
that's
How about
unique. That's,
Half their shows seems like it's developmental talent. That's why they put the title on Jericho.
well, you got to have somebody to develop that talent.
I guess.
So, yeah, when
It burns me. 'Cause
when
Yeah,
I
no.
saw that
Burns me.
today,
I'm with you.
when I saw that today, and I'll tell you what I did. I paired that with John Goodman's, Dean Ambrose, whatever you want to call the guy by whatever name you want to pick to give him. When you pair his comments
Dean Moxley
about
said-
WWE now that he's gone with what Kenny Omega said, what I hear from AEW, including even Cody's recent comments, what I hear from them is they are trying their best to invalidate WWE's product and what they represent while saying that they are better. And quite frankly, again, you've done nothing but put on glorified ECW house shows.
But they don't need to be saying anything.
Right, no, just go out. Let's just get
the
there.
commercials, the business moves that they do in that aspect, 100%. That's smart. Makes sense. Do stuff like that. Shut your mouth.
Well, if
Let
you-
your show do your talking for you. It's simple.
Well, but I think they've gotten to a point now where they are fearful
Welcome to my world.
of what's going to happen.
I got
So the
Smokey's Eve.
only way that they're trying to deflect this is they're trying to become verbal because they feel like WWE has the upper hand. So the only way to steal the thunder is to go out there and say something because, I mean, it got us talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you know, whether you love the guy or hate the guy, that's one thing that our president learned in his presidential campaign was that whether people say great things about you or awful things about you, the point is
They're talking about
they're talking about you. And so, I mean, it's working. He's found a way to make AEW a topic of conversation.
Well, yeah, but he's possibly, created a negative spotlight. He's created a spotlight for sure right now. Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
We're looking good, bad, right, wrong, whatever. We're talking about it. So we'll know soon if it's a negative spotlight or not. But what I was going to say is, as far as their wrestling goes, each one of these guys has proven something individually. They've proven nothing as a company.
Oh, 100%.
Individually, yes.
yeah.
As AEW, they haven't proved jack shit yet.
No, and that's why it kills me just as much because Kenny Omega is one of the best right now. He is very good and solid in the ring. When he takes his craft seriously and he's in a serious storyline, he is one of the best. He doesn't need to make comments like this. And I get it, he's being competitive and maybe it was a spur of the moment reaction, whatever. I can understand the emotion behind him and why he feels like he needs to say something like that, but you don't. Like, it does more harm. In my opinion, there could be people out there who thought it was a great idea, he probably should have said more, whatever, but my opinion, he does, especially him, he doesn't need to say anything.
Right. No, I agree. 100%.
I'm with you. So on that note, we'll move on to WWE has announced that they will have solidified brands after its draft that takes place. They will move to a solid brand basis, and they actually announced on Monday Night Raw this week that they are doing away with the wild card rule.
Thank God.
So something that we as a group have talked about for months. It's nice to hear that they're actually going to take that into consideration and run with it.
It should have never been a thing.
No, I agree. But I also think, again, I think they got put into a holding pattern where they weren't really sure what they were going to do or what WWE looked like post Fox Smack Melt.
Hold up. How about it?
Did he glitch?
We had a glitch.
Say that one more time.
His toes still hurt.
Post Fox Smackdown.
Down.
I got it.
Not smocks down.
At first, what did he say? Like, what?
Facts,
What?
smocks down.
That was Smocklet.
God. Yeah.
Facts,
Cut
smocks
off. Drink some more of that water.
Yeah, that water real quick, buddy.
So, that's. I think that's where they were, and I think that's how we got to where we are. And they literally they had to find a way to hold on to ratings while we went through this process, and that was what worked. So I think that's what happened. But one of the things that I think we have to figure out with the draft is who goes where. It appears pretty evident that we're going to see Brock Lesnar on SmackDown Live.
Right.
So I just want you to hear me out. I'm going to tell you a list of things right now, and then I want you to give
Kevin's
me.
losing his title.
I want you to give me some feedback because I'm going to give things list again. I'm just going to tell you some things that's happening.
Well, let's get it.
Brock Lesnar challenging Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship, which is a SmackDown Live title. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Michael Cole and Corey Graves are moving to SmackDown Live for commentary, while 205 Live's commentary is coming up to take over Raw. WWE is shifting its star power
To SmackDown.
to build bigger stars on SmackDown.
SmackDown.
With the inclusion of Hall of Famers, adding Brock Lesnar to that roster, as well as keeping Roman Reigns there. As they do that, does it
Are we
not
going to see Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar
for the
again?
350th time? I hope not. But
But it's not on Raw.
does
Doesn't
it
matter.
not?
It's true.
Does it not appear that as if WWE is now shifting to make
SmackDown the better.
SmackDown the A brand show?
Seems that way.
Well, I was listening to Busted Open earlier today, and I think it was Bully Ray who made a good point. This could be the first time ever that Raw takes a back seat in WWE, and
Well-
it could be on the bottom of the totem pole.
Well, yeah, I mean,
It could go SmackDown, NXT, Raw.
if
Not-
this is
not
the way
even
they're
talking
going, that's
ratings,
exactly
just-
what happened.
Attention, everything.
So, I agree with you. And if
Which
you move a
is
little bit
interesting.
further down on the run sheet, there was a quote that that Triple H released today that Vince McMahon said to him after the NXT TakeOver debut last night on USA. And Vince McMahon was quoted as saying, "Congratulations on the debut show. It is truly a different product and authentic competition for Raw and SmackDown Live."
Was he there?
No,
Or,
SmackDown.
he was not. He was not.
Goodness.
Thank you.
So, it was, he was not there, and this marks the first time, at least as anything that I could find, that Vince McMahon was not present for any WWE show
do we know why?
except for SmackDown Live. He was not present at Raw.
So he missed Raw.
He missed the pay-per-view. He missed Raw. He was there for SmackDown, and he did not attend NXT.
But do we know why?
Nope.
Hope he's okay.
So
That's true.
I do, because again,
I mean,
I tell
He
everybody
could also
that
be focusing on the XFL right now.
it could
yeah,
be.
but to miss shows?
Yeah.
Like, and why
So
now?
one of the notes that I also put on the bottom of our WWE section here is this marks the first time in WWE history this past Monday that Triple H, Kevin Dunn, nor Vince McMahon were present for the show. Heyman had full control and called the entire thing.
And Raw was the best Raw
And Raw
in
was
how long?
really good.
Yeah.
So it
My
was
opinion,
it was
like, it was-
entirely called by Paul Heyman.
Messed up my mic.
And it was again made the first time in WWE history that one of those three guys was not backstage to call the production
crazy.
of that show. So what does that say about Vince's trust in Paul
I think that's such a good sign.
to say, hey, I trust you.
Yeah.
Did anybody notice that when they were presenting some of the matches on Raw, that they were upside down?
Yeah. Like in the very
Yeah.
beginning of the show.
It threw me
Everything
off.
was
Everything
upside
was
down.
upside down. It threw me off. And I was like, is there something wrong with my TV?
No, the opening segment.
That's
like
how
the
Renee was
tracks
like,
and
have
everything.
they
Yeah.
been upside down the whole time?
Apparently, someone said it was because of the filter that they use for Firefly Funhouse. Whatever they have to do behind the scenes, they didn't get the timing right, so it obviously flipped
Impacted.
everything. Yeah.
Like, it was
That's
all
what-
upside down, and I kind of
Yeah.
looked at my TV, and I was like, is
Well,
my
yeah, because
TV broken?
Renee even said something. She was like, "Has it been like this all night?"
We've got some, because remember that as color commentators,
They watch what
they
we
don't watch what's happening in front of them.
Right.
They watch whatever's on the TV
Right.
in front of them so they can call what the fans at home are seeing. One of our listeners says that Vince was too busy recruiting cut football players from the NFL. So
What did
No,
Vince say?
no, no.
What did Vince say?
He was in a meeting signing Andrew Luck.
that's
talk about a heel turn.
Right?
well, you know what? Ben Roethlisberger can be a starting quarterback for the XFL next year because he won't be starting in the NFL again.
Does he have charges though?
No.
No,
That's
that's
been
old.
years ago.
Yeah, that was old,
He had two, though.
and they came back as unfounded.
One
so.
was in a bathroom stall of some dive bar, and one was at Lake Tahoe.
Well, whatever.
Sweet Jesus.
Well, it was.
I'm not disputing you.
Because I'm
Off topic.
smart. I mean, there's not really another answer. What?
Anyways,
What did you say?
I didn't say anything.
What were you thinking?
You
A
said
lot
you
of
were
things.
He
smart.
said something.
I
and
am
then-
smart.
I said we were off topic.
Oh,
You did
yeah,
not.
We really
you did
were.
not pass those genes.
We
on to
went
your
for
son.
wrestling.
You sit there and be
football.
quiet. Smocks down.
Well, you ain't gonna do nothing to him.
I got nothing.
What's he gonna do?
I got nothing. So
I'm gonna draw pictures.
Has anyone done
You're
that?
gonna have a pink Clash of Champions on your forehead.
COC, holding it down.
God, I hate you. You know, one of the other listeners also said that the reason why Raw was great this past Monday was because of the fact that Heyman was able to call it by himself.
Yeah. Agreed. Tommy Maddox 2.0.
But
Digging it.
But think about what the vibe must have been backstage for the superstars for this to be the first time in history that one of those three guys was not sitting in gorilla position
That's probably weird.
calling the show.
I bet they felt free.
So, well, I'm not sure what they would feel.
It had to be weird.
That's
I'm sure.
that's what
Like, I
said.
mean, it had
Probably
to be.
freeing, but terrifying.
I don't know if it would be freeing because I think it would be more terrifying.
right.
Because for the first time ever, they've got to think, "Oh shit,
Where's my filter?
what do we do here?"
Where's the boss?
Right.
Yeah. So, well, and then if you're Heyman, and I don't think for 1 second that Heyman had to ask himself, is Vince going to approve of this? I feel like Heyman probably just did what he thought was best
And just say
and
sorry
trusted
later
his
on.
gut and said, well, I'll figure it out later.
Yeah. Him and Vince have gone through so much.
Yeah.
Come on.
So, but this now marks an official turning point in WWE with Vince not having any hands-on involvement with NXT and him slowly backing away from Raw. The focus becoming SmackDown. Bischoff there to work the network side of it, like he did with TNT and WCW. You know, are we seeing now a turning point where Vince is finally letting go of some of the reins?
It looks that way.
Is he finally getting to a point now where
Yeah.
he's like, all right, I've got the right people running this business that I can pull my hands out of the day-to-day operations?
Maybe, but I don't think it would take much for him to snatch it right back.
Oh,
Oh, no, it's one bad show.
Like
and
I
he
don't
snatches
think.
it
Yeah,
right back.
I mean, maybe yes, maybe
I mean,
he
bring
is.
Big Cass back on Monday Night Raw without telling Vince, and that whole thing will end.
Yeah, I don't see that happening anyway.
like
No. So...
Was,
Grandma got the walking parts over here.
So, speaking of interesting developments,
Speaking of,
He tried to play that off like he didn't even.
He did. Tried to look at me and wave me on like nothing ever happened.
Sheamus has now been completely cleared.
So, I thought it was Izzy at the door.
Sheamus has been completely cleared for the first time in 4.5 years. He has been cleared for full in-ring duty. For the first time in 4.5 years. Don't.
In-ring what?
Suddenly in a room with a bunch of toddlers.
He said duty.
He said duty.
I think that's on the floor.
So your thoughts on that? Sheamus has returned or been cleared for the first time for 4.5 years to full in-ring duty. You know what? We're just going to move on to the next one since we can't get past that.
We can't get past the duty.
Thoughts on...
Duty calls.
When duty calls, Tommy T's got to go. Get my back. It went up my back.
How do we even have a show?
I am crying.
Oh, God.
Oh my god.
Who gives us a microphone and much less gives us a camera?
This is all your fault. This is all your fault. Smocks down.
Good God. Focus.
Sheamus returning to the ring.
I'm glad to see it, but I'm not super excited about it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Are they gonna squash him?
I mean, I just don't. I feel like he's been gone. They weren't really doing a lot with him individually anyway.
Are they gonna bring back the bar?
No, I've forgotten what Sheamus is like as a single superstar. Like,
That's 'cause
I'm
once they-
excited to see.
He
what
was
he
the
does.
same single superstar as he was with the bar, really. I mean, nothing, his skill set, his move set, nothing changed other than a couple, tandem moves that they had to perform together.
But he never did a whole lot in the ring because he wasn't fully cleared to compete.
Right.
So that's why he was in a tag team. For those of you that did not know, the reason why Sheamus has been on such a strict wrestling restriction has been because of his the one of the reasons why is because he actually was diagnosed with spinal stenosis, which is the same thing that ultimately ended the careers of Stone Cold Steve Austin, Edge, and Paige. So he makes the first one to be able to be fully cleared for a full return with no
Which is
restrictions.
huge. That's huge.
So, but that's why in their matches, the bulk of the tag team match was carried on Cesaro's shoulders or his teeth.
It was coming out of my mouth.
They came out of his mouth.
No, they
So-
actually
No,
did.
they
They
didn't.
went
They
further
went
in
up,
too.
right.
They went further
They
into
went
his
into
mouth.
his nose.
Yeah.
And he finished the match.
Oh yeah,
That was insane. When he turned around, all that blood was
Yeah.
insane.
well, and it looked like he had knocked his teeth out because I remember
Yeah.
us that night. We were
Right.
like, he knocked his teeth out.
But when he first turned around, I thought, oh God, he's broke his nose.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when he opened his mouth, we were like, oh.
Yeah.
And it did. It looked like they were completely gone or broken off.
I think I'd rather break them or lose them than have them being shoved back up into my mouth.
You know,
I'm not sure I
gonna
want
pass
either.
on all of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't think you've got a good option there.
I've broken my teeth. I've broken this.
You broke your hand in your own pocket.
I did.
Just saying.
This sounds like a conversation for another time.
It is.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely going to need to know the story.
He broke his hand in his own pocket. He's related to me, that's for sure.
It was technically a sports injury as well.
No, don't try to.
Too.
Don't.
Hey, there's only one sport you play in your pocket,
It's
son.
not pocket pull.
Jesus.
And it was sports related.
Wrestling.
What a thing.
Thank you, Nico.
So, getting back to the topics at hand, we predicted it. We thought it was coming. We're going to get it. The Fiend versus Seth Rollins at Hell in a Cell, inside Hell in a Cell for the Universal Championship.
I still think it's too early.
I'm going to tell you my biggest fear out of the whole damn thing. The
Let's
Fiend
see.
loses.
Yeah.
That's my biggest fear. It will ruin everything that they have
Yeah.
done with him.
Heyman won't let it happen.
I'm not
I don't think
worried
they're
about it. I don't think he's gonna lose.
Yeah.
I don't think we get a clean finish to the match. And the Hell in a Cell protects it. This, if in their mind they feel like they had to do it before Survivor Series, the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view makes perfect sense. They don't have to have even though they should, because that's originally what the Cell was designed for, to have a clean finish. They don't have to. They can do a number of different things. They can have Undertaker interfere, Braun. They can go any different direction. They can just not have it finish. It doesn't have to be a clean victory or loss for him. Well, not that I agree with it, but they
I
they
think
can
if
get
you
out
have
of it.
anybody interfere with the match, it again ruins the Fiend character.
And again, I'm not saying that I want that to happen, but it's they're not going to have a clean. There's no way they can have a clean finish unless the Fiend beats Seth, but I don't see that happening, and I don't see Seth beating the Fiend right now.
So here's the question: if the Fiend doesn't win, I feel like there'll be the signs in the crowd that says Fiend wins or we riot.
Probably.
Because if the Fiend doesn't win, who's going to help Seth for one? I mean,
Seth has no friends.
Right,
No one
right.
comes out
Who's-
and helps
who's gonna help him?
Seth. Not even referees. No one helps him.
so who's going to help him?
Becky?
No, she doesn't even help him.
Would that not be even more epic than to watch the
would
Fiend
be
give
so
the
awesome.
Sister Abigail to Becky Lynch?
Or the mandible claw.
Yeah.
That would be amazing, honestly.
So-
I'm not gonna lie. Do we even get a match though?
Well, there's a wrestling.
And has anyone even said it's for the title?
It is.
It is for the
It
It was
Yeah.
officially announced on Raw
For the
that the
title?
Fiend will face
Okay.
Seth Rollins for the Universal title inside Hell in a Cell. That was the official announcement. Another wrestling icon slash podcast host made the suggestion that what if
It's the poster for Hell in a
Sick,
Cell.
bro.
what if it's
Whew, I might have to write
not.
that one. And that leads
Well,
me
just
to my
just
second
take a
point.
just take a look at the icon
Yeah.
there on the backdrop. There's almost no picture you can put the Fiend in that isn't going to look awesome.
Right.
So, but there's another.
Unless they drop the ball and he loses.
Well, there's another wrestling icon that sides kind of with us, but says we don't get a finish to the match.
And I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
That we don't get a finish, and the reason why is because before the match ends, the gong tolls.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Because they have to start it somewhere. With Survivor Series being the next pay-per-view, they either start it at Hell in a Cell or Survivor Series if they're actually going to do it.
So
It just makes sense that way.
it does if they're heading towards a Fiend Taker match
they
at
are.
WrestleMania.
Right.
If
If
that's where
the
they're
plan,
going.
yeah.
Now, typically they would wait until the Royal Rumble time frame before we start seeing a build to that.
Yeah, but with Undertaker being so active lately...
I say go ahead and do it. Start now.
Yeah.
So
If we're gonna do it,
'Cause,
let's
like,
do it.
Again, like we've said before, both these characters, you don't have to physically see
They don't
You
have
know,
to touch each other.
but
It
I
doesn't have
just
to be a
want you-
face-off or
Yeah.
a
now,
contract
there's
signing.
been another wrestling icon that has openly said that he would come out of retirement
for the Fiend.
for the Fiend, and that's Sting.
And he is going to be on the first episode of SmackDown on Fox.
Yes.
It is confirmed.
So one of the things that I think will be interesting here is that if we start seeing a build, because those are three guys in the history of the business that would not have to have a single face-to-face interaction between now and when the match takes place, and people would still be invested in it enough to anticipate the match.
Hey, hell, we could even put Sting back in the rafters for...
And what
A
if
few months.
at Hell in a Cell, it's not the gong that we hear, but the crows?
Yeah.
And this year builds to Sting, next year builds to The Undertaker.
I mean, either way, this
I'm good
guy,
with it.
this character of the Fiend has the ability to now, and I would have never said it. We always said that the Undertaker, and still will always be the only one
Oh.
that ever does that gimmick. But you now have a character who can easily replace either of those two legends
Right. I'll say it this way. I think what they potentially
If they don't
have
ruin it.
in the Fiend...
If they don't ruin it.
Right. What they potentially have in the Fiend is a Hall of Fame gimmick.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think what's telling that we haven't really touched on yet is I think one of the clear signs for us to know that WWE is fully aware of how special he is we haven't actually seen Bray Wyatt, the sweatered Bray Wyatt. If
The only
they
time you see
were
him is in the Firefly
if they were
Funhouse.
as eager to jump on this hot act as they could have been, we could have seen Bray Wyatt himself come out and not the Fiend within that first month when he started
Right.
gaining popularity.
So-
and they have held back on that. So that's why if he does end up winning the title, the Fiend, we don't have to see the Fiend himself. We can see the actual Bray Wyatt in the sweater. Again, not saying I want to see him every week, but we can see him come out and we can see videos. Like we can see other things.
Yeah.
If that's the right, if they have to give him
Absolutely, absolutely. But the reality of it is, when you look at the Fiend, the reality of what we have with that character and Bray Wyatt's ability to pull it off is something that is a once in a generation
Yeah.
opportunity. You know, we were lucky to be able to come up through a wrestling era where we had two. But one of them was only around for essentially a decade.
Yep.
And that was Sting.
Right.
So through his latter parts at WCW into his time at TNA and then his return to the WWE.
See, for me, though,
Most of the time
I don't
I saw
even...
him
For
was on
me,
TNA,
I don't even
so.
count TNA, honestly.
Well, no, but
that's where I got to see him most because
Right.
I was little when.
Well, right. You guys didn't see it when it first happened.
Right.
And that's why I said for
Yeah,
our
when it
generation.
first happened, it was amazing. When he met Hogan
I mean,
for the
just
first time.
just go back
in
to watching
DC.
Starrcade.
Yeah.
Of what was it, 97, 98?
It was either 97 or 98.
Starrcade 97, 98. The Crow Sting made his wrestling return to the ring. He had not wrestled in over a year,
I think
Yeah.
it's 97.
It was one. Yeah, it was.
and he
either or.
challenged Hogan for the WCW World Title. Bret Hart came out as the special enforcer of the match and restarted the match after Hogan cheated to win.
Yep.
And then Sting won, and the entire WCW
The
locker
locker room
room
floods
empties
out.
and raises Sting on their shoulders because he had finally, for the first time in 5 years, captured the WCW title away from the NWO.
Yep.
Like, that was, I remember, and I'm not even making this up. This is my geek moment as a child. I remember being in the living room floor.
As a child.
Watching, well, I mean, you were almost in your 20s. So, watching it in the living room.
I still didn't tell you how old he was.
So, watching it in the living room, and I remember counting, like, as a kid, with the referee, and then I remember the Scorpion Deathlock, and then the referee finally calling for the bell. Like, I remember it all vividly the night it happened. Because you had those two characters that were once in a lifetime, once in a generation characters. They just didn't come back. For the first time in forever, WWE has a character. I mean, they had it when we had Bray Wyatt initially, because Husky Harris was a Husky failure. And so...
Like when Bray first came out, they still chanted Husky Harris.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But they realized very quickly that he was a guy that completely reinvented himself.
Twice.
So now, and I'm going to equate him to somebody else, now he has pulled a Chris Jericho
I saw it. Yeah.
and once again completely reinvented himself. And the best
And they
part
did
about
better.
it, yeah, and the best part about it is listening to Seth Rollins talk and Braun Strowman talk about Bray Wyatt. They talk about the guy like he's a legend already.
Yeah. Well, you know what was cool the other night was when Bray was down in his face, or the Fiend was down in Seth's face, and Seth was backed into the corner with his eyes
looked
shut.
like-
He really looked scared. Like I mean,
And that's going to be the key for the Fiend's opponents to play into it and to
Yeah.
not be macho and not be worried about their character, because the Fiend, like the Undertaker, it's okay for you to be scared of him. You know, like that's the whole point.
Right.
Give it to Nico.
So, one of the things that I think we have to take into consideration with what Hell in a Cell looks like is I think it's more fitting for Undertaker than it is for Sting. because that's the match the
Yeah.
Undertaker created.
Yeah.
So,
And really quick, I'm sorry to
No,
cut
go
you
ahead.
off, but what I was thinking about earlier today, I wonder if this was even their plan to begin with, because no one said that this match even had to happen. The whole reason this was even a thing is because the Arena put out a tweet saying that the Fiend was going to face either Seth Rollins or Braun Strowman, whoever won, and won the title.
Right.
So WWE could have very well just said the Fiend's going to be there, or the Fiend's going to be in like the main event or something like that, and the Arena ran with it, and now WWE has to play cleanup, and now
Right.
has to scramble and try to
not
come up with
necessarily.
something.
It could have been WWE's plan all along.
Well, it could have been, but we don't know. On the other hand, too, like because why would they leak something like that out so far in advance before their
Because they
Clash
can't
of
prevent
Champions?
it. Because they can't prevent
Yeah,
it.
they definitely could have prevented that from getting. Yeah, you know
If
how
you-
often
if
cards
you've-
change, even dark main events, like stuff the TV audience
Well,
doesn't even see. Like they change it at the last
Yeah,
second.
but most of the
Or
time
don't
your
even
dark
do
main
it.
events are not matches that are going to get as much attention as this one would.
Well, and which is why I don't think their idea from the beginning was to even have him in a match. I think they probably sent the card to the Arena, and the Arena probably ran with it.
Maybe. I mean, that might have been... That might be the case.
Just saying, like, I'm wondering if this was even the plan to begin
But
with.
I get exactly why they're doing it. You can't have a character that has done for them what he has done for them. I mean, he went from
in
being...
this short amount of
Yeah,
time.
he has gone from being irrelevant to being your highest merchandising moving superstar within a matter of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't get into a position where it's not adding validity to the match by putting him in it. So as much as I think it is way too early for them to be doing this, I really think that what WWE has proved over the most recent years is that you can put a title on somebody and they don't have to be around all the time to defend it.
Which is the route I would see them going if the Fiend...
And
ends
that's
up winning.
exactly what I see with The Fiend, is if you put the belt on him, he's only going to be around.
Not as part-time as Brock Lesnar was, but not there
Right.
every week.
Right. And
But
so...
he shouldn't, and which is why this is so
And
such
the-
a mess, because he shouldn't be there every week.
Right. And the more I
I think you
think...
should have like just regular Bray Wyatt come out.
Well, we have to see him at some point.
At some point.
But again, I don't want to see him every week. I don't even want to see him every other week. I want that to be a rare thing.
The Fiend needs to be... Here's what I am in fear of right now, is that we're never going to see Bray Wyatt again.
I think we will.
I don't know
think we
that we
will.
will, because the fans are not a fan of Bray Wyatt.
We haven't
Right,
had
but I
a
belie-
chance to be a fan of him, though.
But it's the perfect gimmick, really, because you can give yourself a break by just being yourself.
But that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. So like, if the Fiend ends up winning, we don't have to see the Fiend with the title. We can see actual Bray Wyatt in the sweater out there talking and
Right.
out there.
And I don't think you
Promos.
do it the way they did it with Demon, Finn Balor, and Finn
No,
Balor.
it's completely different.
That was just way too much. We see the Fiend way more
yeah.
than we see Bray Wyatt. But every now and then, if the title has to make an appearance, and
Bring
hey,
regular Bray Wyatt.
Bray can come out with it.
Which I want
So,
to see. Like,
Maybe
I think-
that would be okay, like
Yeah.
twice a year.
I'm just thinking about the epic entrance that the Fiend would have at Hell in a Cell. Because I definitely see it's an Undertaker-style entrance where he comes in and slams the door behind him.
Is it going to be red?
probably.
Say that again.
I hope not.
Is it going to be red?
Oh, the
It might be purple for all we know this year.
the cell. I think I'd say it's going to be red. If you look at
Yeah,
every
it
piece of
probably will be,
advertising
yeah.
that we've seen so
And
far
that-
about Hell in a Cell,
It would kind
it's
of
red.
fit better.
Yeah, I mean, it would make
Right.
sense
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah, visually at least.
Like,
Yeah,
I genuinely felt like I couldn't even see Jeff Hardy in there last year.
I went back.
That was a very lackluster match.
I went back and I
What they did was
watched
terrible.
Hell in a Cell from last year, and then I watched from the year before when they had just the silver cell. And there's actually no visual difference between the two. Like as you're looking,
just-
it's just the color. That's it. I mean, when you're
Well,
looking,
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
when you're
the
looking
cage
through
itself didn't change.
no,
It was-
and when
it
you're
was
looking
just the
through it
color.
from the outside, it looks almost white, except for last year it looked
Red.
red.
It's just such a huge change. Like,
Yeah.
It's just.
So And WWE spent a ton of money painting the thing.
Well, I'm sure they did. Which is why
I mean,
they
it's
don't
a
want to
massive
change it
sell.
So, it's. So here's another question then: does the Fiend appear on the top of the cell?
back. Like
See,
the
that's
start
what
off
I'm.
the match?
I think the match starts up there, and then it's a crapshoot as to whether or not we actually get the match.
I don't think he starts on the top. It's too risky to get him up there pitch
Mm,
black.
not if he comes down on top of the cell as it comes down.
So I.
You don't think so? That would be sweet.
I don't
That'd
it
be
would
something
cool,
we've
but I
never
don't-
seen
I don't
before.
see them- That's too risky. I do. Not
I don't.
See that.
I don't think
see
it's as
them doing
risky.
it.
I mean, it's there's way riskier stuff they do.
But with the history of people coming down on cable,
But he's not coming down on a cable. He's coming down on
On the
top of a
cell.
structure that's
But he's-
50 feet by 50 feet
But
wide.
he's still gonna have to get up there at some point. Like, how is he gonna get up there? Like, where?
I mean, he's got to climb on top of it in the rafters.
But that on top of the cage.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I think it would be cool.
Yeah.
I think it would be cool, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Been
Yeah.
something we've never seen before.
Right. It
mean,
would be
we've
fitting
seen-
for his entrance
We've seen the Undertaker go up
on the cell,
Yeah.
and then come back down.
But we've never seen the cell come down first
with somebody else.
with somebody already on it. I mean, the
You
bad
know-
part about that is he would have to be up there from the get.
And I thought about this where, we talked about what a Taker Fiend match would look like at WrestleMania. And I got to tell you, the more and more I think about it, if he wins the Universal title, he carries it to WrestleMania.
It's title versus career.
It's title versus career.
Yeah.
And The Undertaker, he's lost. While he has lost at WrestleMania, the niche that you could build the match on is he's never lost a title match at WrestleMania.
This is true because the two losses that he's had was not for a title.
Was not for a title. And it would be competing for a title that he
Has never
has
had.
never held. So I cannot think of a more fitting way to send the dead man off into the sunset.
Yeah.
Having compete for a title that he has never won against a guy he's already beaten once, but this is a completely different
Oh my
version
gosh,
of the
like-
guy.
Yeah.
And it's Demon versus Dead Man, essentially.
Fiend versus Dead
Fiend
Man.
versus Dead Man.
So, well, yeah, but I'm saying, like, it's a demonic character. So, I can't think of a better way to send him off into the sunset.
You still think we see Demon Finn Balor versus the Fiend?
At some point, yes. But I'm more likely expecting that at the Royal Rumble now than I am.
Because Bray Wyatt has already lost to Demon Finn Balor.
But the Fiend
Fiend has not.
has not. And I think that if Demon Finn Balor is going to lose,
It is
the Fiend is who it needs to be against.
Oh, for sure.
Because he's never lost. Demon Finn Balor has never lost.
No. And I still don't know how I feel about that entirely, but let's move on to the next part of this. Kofi versus Brock. And if I am correct, that match is going to take place on SmackDown's debut on Fox
For the title?
for the WWE Championship.
Oh, well, we already know that Kofi's going to lose it.
Not
I don't think he does.
necessarily, Yeah. Not
I don't think he
necessarily.
does, and here's
Really?
why.
You don't think he's going to lose it to Brock?
Because I don't think the match ends cleanly.
Oh, I think we get a clean finish, but I think if they're truly behind Kofi and they want to be behind Kofi, that's his shining moment.
No.
Beating
No.
Brock Lesnar.
That's
I'm
not
not saying I
realistic.
want it.
Here's the problem.
That was the first thing I said the other night when I saw him make
Here's the
match.
problem with it, and we talked about this months ago when we were talking about Brock cashing in Money in the Bank. If we look at Kofi versus Brock, there is zero scenario where Kofi wins that match
Clean.
clean. Believability wise,
No.
there is zero scenarios where Kofi can win that
Unless
match,
it's a no DQ match.
and even then he still can't.
He still can't because then you give
He
Brock
can't swing-
Lesnar free reign to do whatever.
Right, and he
No,
can't
but you-
swing a
you
chair
also-
hard enough.
He's also got the New Day.
Well, he might have the
That's
New
huge.
Day,
Huge.
but he would need all three
Yeah,
of them.
but at some point,
He needs
still
Big
no-
E's chest just to match for his dent.
He's
So,
Okay.
easy, Nico. Easy, Nico. You need your mom's calves to make up for yours. So, when you look at... oh, this is not going to be good.
Say it again.
don't throw scissors.
not scissors.
Oh, I said scissors.
So, I don't
I'm trying to
see...
get
I
it.
don't think Kofi win. I don't think Kofi wins the match, but I don't think he loses the title.
I don't think he wins the match either, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did. I think the moment is going to be Brock holding the title, closing the show.
If I'll tell you this right now, if I will give huge kudos to Brock Lesnar if he takes a loss on this. I will. I'll give him huge points for it. However, if you're going into your debut show on a new network, I cannot think of another bigger star for you to put that title on than Brock Lesnar. I mean, Brock Lesnar has been on Fox TV before, but the last time it was related to a UFC event.
But any way you look at it, it just makes sense. Like, you can't even be mad if Kofi loses. Like, even if you are the most diehard Kofi Kingston fan, you can't be mad if...
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love to see Kofi hold the title.
I would love
Brock,
to see him conquer Brock Lesnar and truly validate his reign. If the circumstances were different, maybe he would.
We talk about him beating Randy to validate his title. If he beats Brock...
But that's what I'm saying.
I think Randy was the validation.
Right.
I think Randy was the validation. I think Brock goes.
You've conquered the veteran.
As much as it would
now, can you conquer the beast?
Right.
No.
And as much as it would be cool to see Kofi beat Brock, if they weren't going to Fox, it would be more likely that a fluke victory or a quick roll up or whatever. But
going to
with
Fox,
the factors,
going to Fox.
There's no way they can't.
I think if you don't put the title on Lesnar in that match, you're making a mistake.
Yeah.
Because one, I am all for the Kofi love story that we've gotten since WrestleMania, but I'm over it.
I mean, I think it's been a great run. I've seen some stuff online recently where people have completely ripped into Kofi Kingston and his title reign.
Well, he's lost some of the energy that he had when he first got the title.
Well, because it was 11 years built up to it.
Right.
So it can't gain more than that, really.
No, that's true.
And I think with him,
it's kind of hard when you build up that title, and then once you win the title, it's kind of hard to keep that rolling.
Not even
you've already got it
that,
at that point.
I feel like with his character, they didn't go out of their way to solidify him as a serious champion. He still comes out with the pancakes. He still comes out dancing and singing, no matter what. No matter what just happened. The previous week, Xavier Woods, not even the week, I think it was on Monday, his best friend and his brother got beat up and he came out throwing pancakes still. You're supposed to be mad, dude.
I agree.
Like, you're supposed to be furious that your brother, who you call your brother...
Right.
just got beat up and you were forced to watch and you're still throwing pancakes and still, like, laughing and smiling. Like, I get it, you're a happy dude, yeah, but... that has to go away at some point. And I think that little things like that we didn't see, I like what they did on SmackDown. He told New Day to get out of the ring, and it was just him and Brock and Paul.
That was cool.
But that should have been done months ago to solidify him as a true
That should have been
champion.
done with the whole Randy thing.
Yeah.
So
in the beginning of the Randy feud.
Here's what I see. What I see is SmackDown goes to Fox. Brock Lesnar obliterates Kofi Kingston. He pulls a John Cena SummerSlam rewind and throws Kofi Kingston around like a rag doll, because let's face it, we've seen how far he can throw Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre. He will chuck poor Kofi clear out of the ring.
Dude, he really could.
Speaking of Drew.
So, I'll get to him in a minute, but if he loses, here is what I see. The following Tuesday night, Brock or Paul will come out there and they'll run their mouth about what...
like they always
about what Brock has been able to conquer. Then the New Day's music hits, except for it's not Kofi Kingston that comes out. It's Big E.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're setting Big E up for the singles run that he deserved.
You're saying if Lesnar wins the title?
Yep.
Okay.
Because he's going to obliterate Kofi.
And
so Big E comes out to seek revenge.
they don't have the tag titles anymore
for what he did to Kofi. Big E's argument, because I can already see it, is pick on somebody your own size.
Yeah.
But I feel like I would love to get behind that, but they haven't built Big E up as a credible singles superstar. If they want to do that, they need to have him in matches now. Not squash matches or anything crazy.
Oh, I don't think you do. I think you validate Big E by putting him face to face with Brock.
No, but then it's a one-off. You can't tell me he's going to beat Brock Lesnar, so he gets beat, and then what?
Why not?
Why would he and be the champion?
Why would Kofi beat Brock?
I'm not saying he's going to, but I'm saying
Right,
like,
but you're finding Kofi beating Brock more believable than Big E beating Brock?
Yeah.
What sense does that make?
I'm saying I said that if they weren't going to Fox, yeah, but since they're going to Fox, obviously.
Right, but you're saying that Big E facing Brock Lesnar is not as believable as Kofi beating Brock.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I don't see any avenue where that's accurate.
No.
If those weren't already empty, I'd take them away.
No, like, what has Big E done?
He doesn't have to do anything. What did Brock Lesnar do before he defeated The Undertaker for his streak?
Really?
Nothing.
Really?
Brock Lesnar did a lot. Are you serious?
He did, but
Yeah,
prior
he
his,
did
his
more than
first,
Big E in a singles
his
run.
first WWE
His
run.
moniker was the next big thing from the beginning.
But I'm not talking. If you ignore his entire first run,
He did beat Kurt.
when he came back, all he did was go around and throw people around. That was literally all
Right,
he
when
did.
he came back, yeah.
That was all he did. Big E, before he got with the New Day, had built a career as a singles
with Dolph
performer.
Ziggler being his bodyguard. He was the Intercontinental Champion, and that was it.
Okay, so what did Kofi Kingston do before he won the title?
I'm not saying Kofi deserved to be the champion. I'm not saying that at all.
This is kind of funny.
But what I hear
I got the point.
what I hear you saying is you're validating Kofi Kingston.
Because of all the build and all the hype
All
and
right.
everything and all the stock that they put into Kofi, I could see them if they weren't going to. If it was different circumstances, yes, I could see him beating Brock and him going to next WrestleMania with the championship.
I'm with you. If it wasn't for the fact that WWE has no history of following what they build,
Hey, no, I
history.
agree with you. I agree with you.
And so,
but
but with a guy that has the potential to be, so think about
I just don't want them to
Kofi's.
squash Big E. I want
I
Big
don't
E
think-
to be a serious
But
competitor. on his
I'm
own.
with you, and I don't think we get a squash. I think we get Big E defeating Brock Lesnar in his first match, which is something that Seth Rollins can't say he did, which is something Roman Reigns can't
For the
say he
title?
did for the title.
I don't see. I mean,
They're
I
not-
would be for it, but I don't see that. I don't see that happening.
I don't see Brock carrying this belt for another year. Because the only reason why he would carry it for another year is they're building another star. So who's it going to be?
Yeah, I see probably Royal Rumble.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's a
Yeah.
short time span. So why not have somebody that can come out there that's his size? Because if you bring another big guy over, it's going to be something we've already seen before.
And if that's the route they're going, I'm for it 100%. Have Big E beat Brock Lesnar in their first match, win the title, but I don't want to see Kofi 2.0. I don't want to see
No,
him
I'm with
coming
you.
out and dancing.
I'm with you. I don't
Like,
want
it's
to.
gonna
I'm
be the
actually
same
a
stuff.
fan of Big E dropping the rainbow colors, not being part of the New Day, and
Yeah.
being a standalone
Well, at some point, they've got to.
character.
At some
Out of
point, the New
three
Day's
of
got to
them,
end.
He's the one that has a long-term future.
Yeah, and I agree. Big E should be a star.
So-
He should be a monster on his own.
His ability, because then here's again, I already see how it would go. If Big E makes that challenge because he's defending Kofi, beats Brock in his first match, Kofi comes back, Big E makes the statement of, "Well, I did something you couldn't do." Well, now that builds the feud between Big
Yeah.
E and Kofi.
Like, the feud's going to be between
Right.
Big E and Kofi.
Now you've got Big E versus Kofi for the title. He defeats Kofi. Big E has now separated himself from the New Day.
Yeah, and then you have Xavier.
And Xavier
torn
and
between who does he
Kofi.
side with.
Well, but then him and Kofi can go on and be the New Day.
Yeah.
And Big E can
And
go
if,
off
if
on his
that's
own.
what they do.
And
100% down.
I'm not saying that's what they're going to do. That's just what I see.
Yeah.
Because it's one of the few paths that you can actually make a storyline out of that you can go,
And drag it out.
okay, I get
They
it.
could. I just don't see them doing that. I see
So,
Brock winning.
well, yeah,
and-
so what's next? That's my only question. if
you
Brock
know what
wins
my
it,
fear
what's
is,
next?
then what I think they're going to slide right back into? Brock versus Roman at Royal Rumble.
That's what
For
we're
the
afraid
title.
of, too.
That would be a colossal mistake.
I'm not saying, yeah, but that's
I think at some point we still see Lesnar Strowman. At some point, that's going to happen.
for the title. Or
With
just
Brock,
a grudge
I mean,
match?
I think it's
You
going
know,
to be for the title. And
Unless
And
we
then-
get a Lesnar Orlando
And
match.
all this.
well, but I
based on the
think
draft, too.
it's going to be Lesnar and Big Show. I mean, Strowman.
I know what you meant.
He's basically the new Big Show.
I know what you meant.
For the title. Lesnar's going to squash Brock, or Braun, basically. I feel like I'm talking like you over here.
That's fine. It's habitual at some point.
God. But, no, I think there's a lot of other things that are still out there that haven't been done.
Well, you know what? We
With
can sit
Lesnar.
here and beat this up as much as we want, but the reality of it
Say,
is
I could
that
go on all night
in a
about
week,
this.
Beat it up like a
in
tiger.
a week,
That's right.
Well, actually, it's in 2 weeks. We're going to have an answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 weeks, we're going to have an answer.
You copying me? Yeah.
You know, we're going to find out in 2 weeks exactly what that plan is. But I still just don't see any scenario where Brock Lesnar doesn't walk out with a WWE title. I just don't see it.
No. But he's winning that title.
I just don't see it. And
Hands down.
why would you hype it up on the biggest your biggest SmackDown show ever for him to lose?
Not gonna happen.
WWE has pulled better swerves before, so they might. And I'm good with it if they do. But my question is I'm going to challenge it on the believability side. If he doesn't win, you better give me a damn good reason why he didn't win. Because there is just no scenario where I see Kofi winning that match. Short of a referee being distracted and all three of the New Day pin Brock at the same time. That's the only thing.
Somebody
Because
hit somebody with somebody else.
the way that he... Yes.
Yeah.
So, as you would say...
Hit a dude with a dude.
Yeah, hit a dude with a dude. That's not what you
That's not
said.
what I say. That is not what I say.
But just think about the fact that
See, what I say is...
No. Nope.
Now?
No. So, no.
Hit it.
Nope. So, what we have to figure out is how far does he throw Kofi?
Out the ring.
Because I guarantee...
Into the crowd.
I-
Over the rope and into the crowd.
do we get a moment here where the New Day comes out, Brock beats off the other...
Wait, what? What did he say?
I'm not saying it again.
He said beats off.
Oh, God.
Wow. As the production guy back there, it's usually her that causes this.
Oh.
Repeat that.
Nope. Don't repeat it. So is that what F5 stands for?
He defends against
Get it? 5.
the other... But all the New
I was gonna
Day
say come again, but
folks... Do we see a moment where we get a Bam Bam Bigelow Spike Dudley segment with Big E and Xavier on the outside, and Lesnar presses Kofi and just chucks him into Big E and Xavier down the entranceway?
I wouldn't doubt
Because I guarantee you he could throw him probably a good 10, 15 feet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Easily.
So, anyways, we'll move on. That wraps up our WWE conversation for the night. Let's go through our AEW
goodness.
conversation for the night.
That was a struggle.
Name of for the TNT Wednesday night show has officially been announced. Comcast was actually the one that spoiled it because it showed up on their programming guide before it showed up anywhere else.
Oops.
And it was
I feel like
it is
that stuff
officially
happens all the time, though.
it is officially. You mean like when they use the
Accidentally
2K19
Yeah.
WWE created arena for AEW's
Yep, that's the one I'm
Double or
talking about.
Nothing?
That's what I'm talking about.
So it is going to be all Elite Wrestling Dynamite. I had before
Let's
the
see why you couldn't have at least gone Wednesday night Dynamite.
yeah, and the social media reactions have been mixed on it. There was a poll on Twitter. I actually had Nico pull up some of those so that in case you guys had not seen them yet, you could see some of the information that was put out there. There was
No,
Stuck behind A-Man's head.
58% of the folks on Twitter. That's
Can you see now?
58% of the folks on
Sorry
Twitter
there, sir.
have said that they
You got
do
that
not
right,
like
sir.
the new name. There you go, Smokey Z. There's somebody else that agrees with you.
Thank
That
you.
makes sense.
oh, there's another
There's a
one.
second person.
That's what I thought it was going to
Jason
be.
Bush.
Like, like Monday Night Raw, Wednesday Night Dynamite.
Can you put your hand down?
Well,
God, are you just doing whatever you can do?
so
to be
there
right
was
in
some.
Yeah.
So there was some folks that that definitely have I made the statements before that I called them a wannabe WCW 2.0,
There
and
it
then
is,
other
right
folks
there.
have agreed with me on that clearly.
Who cares what the name is?
it's not. That one's for Nico.
Oh.
The
He's like,
Get over it.
look at Brett.
Yeah, his WCW hand gesture there after the Montreal screw job.
But I'm watching based on the name.
Here's a statement here that I want to just quote for a second. So hold what you got there for Nico. This is from Jay Short for Jay on Twitter, and what he said was, "I know I will get for this, but I'm kind of over AEW already. I know they haven't had their first television show, but their pay-per-views are about average, in my opinion. Not enough star power to attract me. That said, I will give them time to create stars." Let's pause for a second. My friend Jay Short for Jay, Kenny Omega would tell you that all AEW has is stars, while NXT only
Main
possesses
event stars.
main event stars, while NXT only possesses developmental talent.
There you go.
So I'm not sure what.
However,
Slim Shady says you
Eminem
have a fair
chimed
point.
in. You have a fair point. So Slim Shady says it. Just saying.
Argument's over. I mean, it's done.
You know,
Over.
It's done.
That's not the real Slim Shady.
But
But,
Set up.
well, can you please say
we were all
that was terrible.
Terrible.
There we go.
So,
John said that.
so
But you got to say it 3 times.
here's the reality of this, and I pretty much buried AEW in our last show last
You
week,
did.
where I just ripped them apart.
Fair.
Equating Jericho's career to the same thing that he's made AEW, which is a joke. But I'm gonna to add on to that, to go a little bit further down.
Lame, unoriginal.
To make it even worse, that AEW, and it just sound now you literally sound like a WCW ripoff. Oh, we're not Nitro,
We're dynamite.
we're Dynamite.
Say it like Jimmy Walker.
What is Dynamite? That's right, Nitro.
the best. We're
There it is! Jimmy Walker!
Dynamite! To just cap this off, let's talk about 2 real quick points that I found today. AEW is actively planning themed shows like WCW, where they want to do like a Road Wild, Spring Break, Bash at the Beach, where they do the events on the beach. You guys remember how
So it's
WCW
still
used to
Eric's
do that?
ideas, yeah.
So, literally, you're
repeating
repeating WCW.
The era that they wanted to destroy,
They're trying to bring back.
WCW
Hey, if
rebirth.
they can do it better and they can put their own spin on it, whatever. But
The only thing they've done better is add comedy to wrestling and become irrelevant.
like, just do you. Don't worry about anyone else. Don't worry about recreating the past. Have your own marquee.
What made them special was the fact that they were doing something
It was
different.
by the wrestlers for the wrestlers.
Yes,
That
they
was
were
their
doing
motto.
something different.
Yeah. Right. And it
Now
felt
you're
different.
not. You're trying to go back, and you've got a has-been as your world champion.
As being.
And just to go further on, let's quote him from his shoot interview that he did yesterday,
With his
which
brother.
is AEW doesn't get a TV deal, mainstream media attention, or John Moxley without me.
Now, do you think that's actually him who feels that way, or him as?
Have you
Chris
ever
Jericho?
listened to him
I
before he ever got to AEW, like just the way he would talk about himself?
And I have, and that's why I'm asking. Do you really believe?
I believe that 100%.
Because Jericho, no matter if you hear him in an interview or on his own podcast, Jericho is always Chris Jericho, the figure.
So
I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. I heard about the AEW thing up until Chris Jericho came in, and I was like, oh, this thing's for real.
So here's the thing. AEW, just look at their posters.
They're all Chris Jericho.
They're using a guy whose the best years of his career was 10 years ago. I'm not saying he's not talented. We've never argued against that.
He's in the twilight at this point, and
He should be their Randy Orton,
Absolutely.
fair.
not their
100% fair.
They
John
took
Cena.
a step in the wrong direction when they put the title on him instead of Adam Page.
Yes.
And again, like we've beaten to the dead horse by now. Out of those 2 selections, yeah, it should have been Jericho, but it should have never been between them to begin with.
No.
So
On further notes, AEW did air a commercial last night during NXT's USA debut, which I think was an outstanding business decision.
yes, it was a really well done commercial.
It was. It was completely
Like,
ruined
I
by
was
their
about to get up
executive.
and leave the room, and I was like, "Wait, is that wrestling that I hear? Wait, this is a commercial." And I was like,
It was completely ruined by their executive vice president's comments today, but it was a great business decision to run
"When you get started on
that commercial, especially considering most of the stars that you featured on that commercial were, in my opinion, developmental talent, because they were not main event stars. If main event means you pulled them from the main events of bingo halls and fire departments in Aylett, Virginia, then yeah, they're main event stars. But they are not main event in comparison to the folks that compete in NXT. For a lot of those guys, their biggest crowd is 500 folks. 500 folks for a lot of them. Their biggest audiences came when they got to AEW.
I'll take.
So if you want to
500 in
talk
November.
about main event talent, the biggest
Just
two
saying.
main event talents that you have on your roster right now, sadly, you have one of those developmental talents on your roster in Luchasaurus.
it's a cool mask.
I don't
Though.
even know if I can talk about it because it makes me so mad. Like, I know.
So, well, he insulted his own clan is what he did.
He insulted everyone.
He did.
Everyone.
He insulted the brand which he's supposed to represent. Because NXT, whether you like it or not, is their style of wrestling. It's what they do. If you had to pick a
And it's
sector,
damn good.
Would-
if you had to pick a sector of WWE that Kenny Omega would fit in, it would be NXT. It wouldn't be Raw or SmackDown. Not because of his talent, but because of his style
Right. I agree.
and his in-ring ability. He fits there. So the only thing I heard out of Kenny Omega's mouth today is, I'm really upset that I signed with AEW and didn't take NXT's offer. That's what I heard. So you can tuck your tail between your legs and cower in your corner, but do me a favor and just give Vince McMahon the apology you owe him before he offers you another contract when AEW goes out of business.
It's fair.
So,
You good?
yep, I'm good.
Sure.
Yep. I have I have nothing for AEW anymore at all. Could care. I have actually zero interest in even switching back and forth between channels now. As far as I'm concerned, it's a brand that's already non-existent.
It's already shot themselves in the foot.
Because when
Well,
your
yeah.
executive vice president comes out and runs his mouth like he did today, you invalidated every bit of validation that you've worked so hard to build.
And
Good
the
job,
only
Kenny.
thing I can really say right now, without completely being explicit, is
Ooh, careful.
hearing. At first, I read his comments and I was like, whatever. And then when I actually heard the clip, I was like, you just heard that cockiness and that arrogance. And
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
for his wrestling character, fine. When you're doing interviews,
As
you
the
are an
executive
EVP.
vice president.
You've got to be able to cut it. And
You shouldn't even be talking about WWE. You should know what
Talk
you're
about
doing.
what your brand is.
You shouldn't care. You shouldn't care. And to sit there and trash all the talent, because you can, if you listen to Eric Bischoff's podcast right now, if you go back and listen to the episode when they were in Virginia, Hampton, and Norfolk, he said he's glad he had opened the doors because it would have been buddy-buddy, because the wrestlers are friends. It wasn't
right.
wrestlers versus wrestlers. It was company versus company. So for him to sit there and bash all the talent who you say are your friends, that takes all the fun out of it for me. And now I don't even want to go to the first show. Like, I don't even want to go. I want to stay home and watch NXT, just because if that's how you really feel, and you feel it somewhere in you to voice it,
To even say
in
it,
an interview.
he's got to feel it
After-
somewhere, somehow.
After they debut. So,
Well,
did
and
you say
now-
it because you're threatened now? Because you saw the product?
And that's all it
So
was.
now, if you are, again, that's fine. They created the war.
Right.
They had to know WWE is going to fight back.
You threw the first punch.
Right. So don't, if you're threatened, that's fine. Don't make comments like that. Don't bash the wrestlers who are there to put food on their family and to do the same thing that you're doing. Just because they chose one company and you chose a different route, you sit there and just call them your friends and you're going to bash them like that.
Well, I tell you what,
just took
those
all
are
the respect out.
there's
for me.
those are a lot of really strong words, and this is something I thought about more recently with some of Cody's comments, because there's some arrogance coming out in some of the stuff that he says now too. And what I'm hearing, one, is fear. That's the first thing
Which
I hear.
it
And I
makes
get
sense.
it, and I get it,
yeah, I'm not saying
100%.
they shouldn't be.
But those are real strong words coming from a guy that doesn't have to worry about whether or not he performs on the next show as to whether or not he gets a check.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because he has an executive's check. He doesn't get just a wrestler's check.
Mm-hmm. And do we know the length of their TV contract?
3
Or-
years.
3 years?
Yeah.
3
Okay.
years.
Okay.
So, which is
Make
funny
it that-
because it probably won't
That's
make
a
it. It
long
probably
time
won't make it
for
past
an
6
initial
months.
deal.
I was about to say. is
It
either
probably
gonna
won't make
make
it past
that
6
long?
I
months.
give him a solid year.
I'll give him a year, but nothing more. Unless, like we said, I think it was last week, unless they completely change the model.
Yeah, the
that they
model
have
they're
now.
using right now, and again, I can't believe it. That again, something we've talked about on this show, we're starting to see bits and pieces of. We talked about when you go back and listen to the folks, that that talked about the fall of WCW. When you talk about the fall of WCW, they'll tell you
I
that
did just straighten my hair though before.
that one of the things that led that company into the path it was
I
in
gotta re-straighten.
was the fact that
like
they
something
let
about Mary up
wrestlers make the decisions.
This is,
That was what Vern Gagne said. That was what Eric Bischoff said. That was what J.J. Dillon said. All the guys that were in the office at the time said that that company started to fall apart because they let wrestlers make the decisions.
exactly.
Well, you're already starting to see some of that with
And Eric
AEW.
Bischoff did that because he was so
Shooting
overwhelmed.
themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
He didn't do it because
They
he
hadn't even
wanted to.
started.
He did it because he had no
Themselves in the
choice.
foot.
Yeah.
You know.
So we're going to move on into our last couple of news bits here before we try to wrap up the show because we're in our hour and a half mark now.
Yikes.
We're in there.
Big Cass this past week. Big Cass this past week.
Deep in the show, guys. But
Right.
Fine.
You know what you were talking about.
It is this was very disheartening news when it came out. We shared it as a group, and then he has since then come out and made a public statement regarding the incident, and clearly he had some relapse issues with his drug and alcohol problems. I just want to say that for the folks that were involved in that, it was not a situation that turned out well for anyone.
No.
And I just hope that the guy goes and gets the help that he needs. In fact, the wrestling promotion that he was part of that night, two of the guys that he offended that night and confronted have offered to help him financially in getting help
Yeah.
that he needs. And, unfortunately, we see this far too often with folks from this industry that when they reach that pinnacle and then something happens and they get knocked off that stage, they never quite recover from it.
Well, I think what he's got going on was there long before he got
Yeah.
to the stage.
Well, probably. It just didn't become evident.
It's been there a long time. I mean, these things don't just suddenly pop up.
No.
You know, I'm sure if you went
It
back
kinda
through
happened
his
all at
history
once for
before
him.
he was Big Cass.
Well, his friends said that one of his, it was a local news channel or something where the wrestling event took place, that they interviewed somebody that was close to him, and they said that this began when he got injured in WWE. So he had that first match on Raw with him and Enzo,
Yeah.
and then he got injured and blew
yeah.
his leg apart,
That's right.
and then he never fully recovered from it. And in order to keep the pain away,
Yep.
he got hung up on alcohol and painkillers.
Yeah.
And that was kind of what started it all, and then that was what ended up leading to some of his behavior in WWE, which led to him losing his job,
Yeah.
and then it just spiraled downhill
And that
from
was
there.
overseas, right?
Yeah, they were in Europe.
No, it was.
So I just want to say that on from the folks here at this team, I can tell you that we wish him nothing but the best, and that he gets a spot. We had actually reached out to his agent to have him on our show when he came into Virginia for a local indie promotion that was coming into town, but that clearly will not be happening now. And so we're going to try to find somebody else to bring in, and try to at least every few months get a special guest in on the show, which I think would be different. It would be fun for us as
Hey,
a
look,
group.
it don't get any more special than this group.
Man, that's the truth. Could you guys imagine having an actual wrestling star in here with us, though, to have these conversations with?
Last time Adam Cole visited.
That's it's just it'll be interesting to see what that's going to look like once we get somebody
to
in
say
here
the least,
to have a conversation with. So Jack Swagger has been announced for another Bellator MMA fight. For those of you that did not know, Jack Swagger is undefeated in Bellator. He is 2-0. And he is going into his third fight. We actually had an opportunity to see him not long after his second fight. There are two toddlers at the other end of this table.
I was
Toddlers.
actually kind of jealous that he had like diversity going on with his colors.
I've got a rainbow.
There
It's
is
like purple, red, and
I
blue.
know. I'm very fond of those. Oh,
There you
thank
go.
you.
Oh,
Smokey.
look.
See, you're such a
So-
gentleman.
Here.
Look at you guys.
The
Aw.
I was
NWA
here to help.
Sharing is caring.
is going to announce the name of their new weekly episodic program here within the next week. It will probably be, NWA Lightning.
Might as well.
But yeah, I mean,
Could be.
nothing would surprise me at this point.
Like,
So we've got, if AEW is going to be Nitro or going to be Dynamite, then NWA can take Lightning.
That's fair.
So let's move on to our Poke the Bear segment
oh yeah. God, I forgot.
for the evening.
I mean, yeah.
And I love that graphic that he puts up there for Poke the Bear. This week's questions are not as valid, not as interesting as last week's or the previous week's. What I did do
I don't know if I want to be poked.
was I tried to go through and I actually have not had a single question that's been submitted for me yet. A-Man has
Y'all
more.
gotta put some questions in there.
A-Man has more questions than anybody else
Well,
does.
that's not a shot.
Double K had somebody write a question to him that
Lord.
did not even have proper English words in it. So I don't know what they were trying to ask you.
Awesome.
But
Did you type it?
no,
Glitched. That's
They
No.
glitched while in.
no.
They glitched it in while they were writing.
So Smokey Z, we're going to kick this week off with you.
Let's do it.
And the question for you, it comes from Joey Jank in California.
Joey
What's up,
Jack.
Joey?
What's up, Jared?
Joey Jack.
What
Jack,
makes
Jack.
you so interested in Kofi Kingston?
He's a small guy like me. Plain and simple.
Okay.
Relatability factor.
I get it. Okay, that's fair.
You don't have a concave chest, though.
No, I do not.
Or like weird nipples that like go different directions.
Who are you today?
I know. She's
been drinking.
she's about 3.5 sheets to the wind.
So the filter that we normally get with her is gone.
I do.
No, it's great. It's great. We should do this more often.
I think it's hilarious. I've laughed at you this entire episode.
So, Double K, next question comes to you, and it is from Sierra in Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Pick one for
From
each.
Minnesota, don't you know?
Your favorite wrestler, who you think is the best ever, and the worst ever.
Ooh,
All right,
that's a
read
fun
it. Say it again.
question.
Your
One more time. This is
favorite.
a fun question.
Let's start with the first one. Your favorite wrestler of all time.
Oh,
God. Well,
that should
Hogan?
be given.
I mean, it's Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
I mean, I did kick a guy in the back of the head.
Yeah, that guy.
I mean, and it's
the good thing it wasn't old and had
But look,
dentures.
I'm going to clarify. It has nothing to do with his technical excellence or anything like that. When I was small and just started watching wrestling, when I was able to know what it was, he was larger than life, and it was just like, wow. So it just stuck. I would say if I had to make it more recent, I struggle with this one so many times. I want to say The Rock or Austin so bad, but I get that rush more when Triple H's music hits.
Really
Okay.
interesting.
Fair enough.
So, who do you think is the best ever? That's the second part of the question for you.
It's just a broad statement, though.
No, it's not. It's just
It is. No, it is because I mean,
Well, it's his
Because it could
opinion.
be taken in different ways.
you sit here and break it down, like because best ever, like
who is the best WWE superstar ever?
WWE superstar.
WWE meaning WWF, WCW, wherever
Okay.
it was they came from. Wow. Who is the so well, think about it like this. We've talked about the Mount Rushmore of wrestling. If you had to eliminate three faces off of it and just leave one, who would it be?
Austin.
Okay. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, I would
The
have to
industry
say
that we
Austin.
have now doesn't exist if it wasn't for him.
Right. Like I said, your Flairs and your Hogans got it to him.
Yep.
And then
I've always said that Hogan was the guy that made wrestling popular. Austin was the guy that revolutionized it to make it what it is today.
absolutely.
That's
So I would have to say Austin.
And I have a feeling I know what the answer is going to be for this one, but your worst ever WWE superstar.
I'm gonna give it some thought. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna knee jerk this one.
In all reality, I'll tell you that who you would expect it to be for me is not who it is.
Yeah.
So,
It's not bad wrestling. You just
right.
Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah. Worst ever. Ugh.
That one seems like it's more hard to think about than
I'm not even going there. I'm going further back. Guys like the Repo Man and Brooklyn Brawler, they were good characters, but they were shit wrestlers. I'm back in that era right now. Yeah, maybe Repo Man or somebody like that.
Okay. All right. So I tried to pick non-aggressive questions for you guys this week.
That's nice.
A-Man,
Thanks,
your
buddy.
question comes from Jason in Florida.
Oh. I feel like I just got ripped off.
Look, the vein in her forehead starting to pop.
Yeah, it's okay, calm down.
She got hot.
What is your favorite superstar who you believe is also the most underappreciated?
That's a good question.
Ooh.
I told you I picked non-aggressive questions this week.
I want to know what the one.
this isn't really like a poke-a-bear. It's
It was
still
literally
like
just
kind
was
of
not
like-
English
Yeah.
words. If it was from a different language, I have no idea.
Can you repeat it one more time?
Yeah. Who is your favorite superstar who you also believe is the most underappreciated?
That favorite part is kind of getting to me. Because
Nothing. No. I'm listening.
okay, well you made a face.
He did make a
You-
face.
you
That's
saw
why I
it,
said.
yeah.
That's why I said.
I'm just
Yeah.
listening.
It's hard. I would, in my opinion, I would say either Drew McIntyre or Buddy Murphy.
Okay.
Okay.
I think they're both valid.
But an honorable mention goes to Chad Gable,
Who Vince McMahon is very high on right now.
as he should.
He's very
He
high
could
on
be the
Chad,
next
on Shorty
Kurt
G.
Don't.
Shorty G.
Well,
All right, folks, that brings us to our closing segment of the night, which means we are at our point where it is time for Wrestle Rewind trivia. A man holding her WWE Intercontinental Championship.
Go ahead. Swapping the belts out.
So,
like that.
Yep. Got it.
yeah, we got you.
Yeah.
On it.
I like
So I will tell you that the first 10 questions, so remember 15 questions, whoever has the most points at the end of the 15 questions
have that.
is our winner.
Suck it up. That's a very prominent color of the rainbow right there. You should feel right at home.
So,
You're absolutely right.
I know,
okay?
right?
so I will tell you that the first 10 questions come
I'm
from
the
tonight
voice of reason.
are from the first SummerSlam.
Jesus.
Jesus.
The first 10 questions are from the first SummerSlam.
Well, I'm out.
I'm out.
And the
No,
remaining...
the problem is you weren't out.
This is true.
he was still running down his daddy's leg.
Oh.
That's disgusting.
But that was when he was still stuck on the second and the third, not the fourth.
Yeah.
So,
That's great.
Jesus. Tonight has been
that's
special.
twice he's defended you tonight.
Yeah. I think it was in
I'll give you a hug later, Nico.
Hey-o.
So, so the first 10 questions are going to be from the very first SummerSlam. The second set of questions, the last 5, will be from a mixture of, as usual, from the Attitude and Ruthless Aggression era, which will not be multiple choice. Those will all be your guess. Question number 1, who won the Intercontinental Championship at the first ever SummerSlam? Was it Bret Hart, Texas Tornado, Ricky Steamboat, or the Ultimate Warrior? Double K.
Ricky Steamboat.
That is incorrect. Smokey Z.
Hey,
No.
I hit mine first.
Did you?
I did.
I don't know. I couldn't see her.
You got to hit the one in the middle.
That's- So I can see it.
Yeah,
Hey,
I
go
don't
ahead.
know.
I was gonna say Ultimate Warrior.
It is the Ultimate
Here,
Warrior.
hand that over there so we can all see.
Question number 2. Who was the special guest referee when the Mega Powers and the Mega Bucks met in the main event of SummerSlam 1988? Was it Sugar Ray Leonard, Bobby Heenan, Jesse Ventura, or Gorilla Monsoon?
God, dog.
I completely
Gorilla
missed the
Monsoon.
question.
That is incorrect.
Darn.
Double K.
Sugar Ray.
That is incorrect.
What was the question one more time?
Who was the special guest
I still
referee
completely missed the
when the Mega Powers and the Mega Bucks met in the main event of SummerSlam 1988?
What are the other two left?
I will give you all 4 options
Okay. That's fine.
Attaboy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
because you said
that's
you
all
weren't
right.
paying attention, so
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
know
going
they
to
got
narrow
yours
it.
wrong, and I know what they said, but whatever. That's fine.
Sugar Ray Leonard,
Try to cheat.
Bobby Heenan, Gorilla Monsoon, or Jesse Ventura?
Actually, I don't remember what he said.
That's why I gave you all 4 and not just the 2.
Jesse Ventura?
That is correct.
You want a
Oh, shit, I
beer?
got
Need a beer?
Maybe I'm still winning, so it doesn't seem. to
Yeah,
be
actually.
anything.
Question number 3. Who interfered in the Rick Rude Junkyard Dog match, causing a disqualification? Was it the Honky Tonk Man, the Big Boss Man, Andre the Giant, or Jake the Snake Roberts?
Well, I'm assuming Andre probably couldn't run and dive in the ring, so
Well, it doesn't say that they dove in the ring.
I'm playing it out in my head.
Smokey Z.
Jake the Snake Roberts.
It was Jake the Snake Roberts.
Atta
Smokey Z
boy.
getting on the board with 1. Who was the guest on the Brother Love show that was part of the first SummerSlam? Was it Rowdy Roddy Piper, Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig, Tito Santana, or Hacksaw Jim Duggan? Double K.
Piper?
That is incorrect.
Yeah.
Smokey Z.
Hacksaw.
It was Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Smokey Z tying it up with 2 and 2. You weren't asleep during these
You're
years.
a hoe.
Jesus. Whom did Bad News Brown defeat at the initial SummerSlam? Was it A. Ken Patera, Don Morocco, Paul Orndorff, or Coco Beware? Smokey Z.
Coco.
That is incorrect.
Damn it, that was mine.
Okay, well, thank you for your
The
guess.
first
That's still
answer.
that's Ken Patera.
No, the second one.
Paul Orndorff.
Yes.
That is incorrect.
Okay.
All right, so hold on a minute. Who were
Double
the 4
K.
again?
Ken Patera, Paul Orndorff, Don Morocco, or Coco Beware?
Don Morocco.
That is incorrect. If you would have said the first one, Ken Patera, and stuck with it, you would have been
Really?
correct.
Well, you gave me this
Was
look
it-
like, really? You're choosing him? So
Well, you threw me off because you said numbers. You didn't say that.
I don't remember the names.
I'll take door number 2, Tommy T.
Question number 6. In what city was the first SummerSlam held?
Say it again, wasn't it?
What city was the first SummerSlam held? Boston, Philadelphia, New York, or Baltimore?
It's on the East Coast.
Smokey Z.
Boston.
That is incorrect. A double K.
I didn't hit
Oh,
anything.
I thought you did. Sorry. Amen.
See, I'm honest.
Thank you, I appreciate that. New York.
That is correct. It was New York City. You know what's worse? I'm giving your points to him.
Old habits.
I'm so not used to him getting
That's
points.
what I said. It's old habit. Yeah.
Hey, I almost won last week.
Who managed the Powers of Pain for their first match in SummerSlam 1988? Was it Slick, Bobby Heenan, Mr. Fuji, or Baron?
It's one of 2. I'm torn right.
Smokey Z.
Mr. Fuji.
That is incorrect. Double K.
Slick.
That is also incorrect.
So
Amen.
it wasn't one of
What
2.
what were the choices?
Slick.
I guess your other one.
Bobby
Yeah.
Heenan, Mr. Fuji, or Baron?
What,
We will not repeat previous answers.
this is why I don't drink during the show.
This is why.
He's got
Baron?
88.
It was Baron. That is
Yes.
correct.
That's a
I
hell of a
should drink during the
guess.
show.
I need you to make
I'm
mine.
good at
Oh, I
guessing.
almost chucked it.
Oh, he had to catch himself. He said, I'm going to need you. Like I heard the coming out.
That's the first time.
Yeah.
No, that's not the first time.
We
That's
both dropped one in the same show.
accidentally.
Yeah, completely accidental.
Whom did Jake Roberts face at that same SummerSlam? Was it Greg Valentine, Earthquake, Hercules Hernandez, or Bob Orton?
It's weird that you said Bob.
Who was the first
not
one?
Cowboy Bob Orton.
Who was the first
Greg
one?
Valentine, Earthquake, Hercules Hernandez, or Bob Orton?
And what was the
Smokey Z.
Valentine.
That is incorrect. Double K.
Hercules.
Hercules Hernandez is correct.
Hey, I'm here.
Double K.
Question number 9. How did the opening match at the first SummerSlam between the British Bulldogs and the fabulous Rougeau brothers end? Rougeau, sorry, you're right. You're right. I did not say Ragu.
No, you said Rogo or something.
I said Rougeau.
Roku.
No, that's not what I said either.
So negative.
How did it end? The match between the British Bulldogs and the fabulous Rougeau brothers end.
Come on, man.
Bulldogs won. The
Rougeau.
Rougeaus won. A time limit draw, or both teams were counted out.
I feel like they did this a lot back then.
Double K.
Both teams were counted out.
That is incorrect. Amen.
I feel like they did that a lot back then in the 80s and stuff, though.
What was the first one again?
It's
The
number
Bulldogs won.
Number one.
Yeah, Bulldogs won.
That is incorrect as well.
She was very confident. She,
I
yeah,
was about to
yeah.
work my
I want that one right there. Number one.
I did.
The Rougeau one?
That is also incorrect. It was a time limit draw. Question number 10. Who defeated Coco Beware at that same SummerSlam? Was it Akeem, the Big Boss Man, Kamala,
Won.
or Warlord? Smokey Z.
Big Boss Man.
That is correct. It was the Big Boss Man.
Boy.
That wraps up the first 10 questions. We now move on to the final 5.
Yes.
The score, A-Man 4, Smokey Z 3, Double K 1.
Trying to knock the light out.
She's only had one mixed drink and a beer, and she's falling apart over there.
That's an instant DQ.
It's a small mixed drink.
That's
Right,
true.
but mine was.
She's got 15 pounds, and
Yeah.
10 of it are in the same location.
All right, let's go. Final 5. Let's go.
So-
Let's get it.
Let's do it.
Question number 11. Who defeated John Cena in his pay-per-view debut? I forgot, did we ask this question before?
Probably.
Did we? I thought we did.
I don't
I
remember.
don't remember.
Oh, yep, I've asked that one before, too.
Well,
Oh, okay, here we go.
The last 6 shows, it's all been ruthless aggression, so you've probably asked them all.
Who returned to the WWE in 1989 as the Widowmaker?
Oh!
This was
Didn't we ask this one before?
Asked this question before.
Yeah.
Oh.
Did I really?
Yes. I remember you asking me
I'm
the
gonna need you to be
question.
better prepared, Tommy T.
He worked today.
I did work
I
today.
Can tell. I'm just kidding, Tommy T.
All right, here you go. Question number 11. Who burst into Brian Pillman's home during an infamous live edition?
Stone Cold Steve Austin. With
That
a
is
gun.
that is correct. Question number 12. Whom did Shinsuke Nakamura defeat in his WWE debut at NXT TakeOver? Amen.
Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn is correct.
3 questions left.
Oh, I'm out.
He has the chance to tie.
Smokey Z, you will need the correct answer to the next question to tie.
Yeah, I'm out.
Well, you'll need to answer the next 3 correctly to tie. Double K, you are officially eliminated.
Yeah, I just said that.
Okay, you're still eliminated. Question number 13. Which former MMA champion helped The Rock take out Triple H and Stephanie McMahon at WrestleMania 30? Amen.
Ronda Rousey.
That is correct. It is Ronda Rousey.
Zach, where were you on that one?
Come on, man!
I was like half listening.
So
I knew I wasn't going to win it anyway.
I think
so-
he had the white flag.
I'm so glad that I
Right,
did not
Tyler.
have to ask the next question.
Please,
So
what
thank
is it?
you
What
for
is
not.
it? Now you gotta ask.
Nope.
Yep.
What is it?
Ask it.
You
The
can't do
folks,
that.
that
You can't say
that
that.
wraps
Not
up
ask it.
another episode of
Pull an
Wrestle
arm here till you
Rewind
ask
here for Thursday. Stop it!
Ask the question.
Jesus Christ.
Ask the question.
Folks, that's going to wrap it up.
Get the back.
I'll do it. Ask the question.
So, folks, that's going to
Can't
wrap
just ask the damn
up
question.
our episode.
Why is your leg sweating?
Because it's hot in here.
Ask the damn question.
So, we will see you next week for another episode of Wrestle Rewind live at 8:30 next Thursday night, folks. That's a wrap before this thing all goes to hell. Y'all have a good night. Jesus Christ. God!